Hey, everybody. Happy Friday morning. I hope you're having an awesome week. If not, well, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Just go ahead and open up the bar and let's have some beer and tapas and just be here. I'm Haley Gray. I'm the founder of the Women's Entrepreneur Network, and I'm excited to be here with some friends today. I'm excited to be here with Katherine Kim Mullen, who you've probably seen out and about in Women's Entrepreneur Network. Everybody give her a hi. And we have Karine and Karen here. And thank you guys for joining me this morning, because we're going to talk about rich thinking to grow and all the things. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So take it up. Okay, Katherine, you've got ideas going on in your head here. So what's going on in your head?
You think I have ideas going on?
Never.
I know. I love that. I'm grateful. One time somebody asked me what part of my body I was grateful for. And I'll ask that to everybody here. What part of your body are you grateful for? And people say their heart, their legs. Depending where you are in your life, you'll be grateful for different things. When I lost my grandfather, I was grateful for my legs because he made them strong. So what I'm going to say is, I haven't lost sight of my gratitude in the last at least 10 years for my mind. I love my mind. I love that it imagines and it's fun. And I would ask, Haley, what about you? What part of your body would you be grateful for?
What part of my body would I be grateful for? Gosh. My heart.
You have a good one. You care.
I do care.
And in your world
sometimes too much.
Well, exactly, because you know what? In the world of business, because it's a Women's Entrepreneur Network, and then you attach that business and women and marketing, how much you do. I want to phrase this right. I may not. That it's like volunteer work you do sometimes, but you don't get credit when you're doing volunteer work that's not labeled philanthropy, but you do a lot of it. I see that, Haley. But you know what? I'd be curious on.
Well, and Facebook doesn't pay me to run the group. So I've had people who think that Facebook pays me to run the group or, gosh, a few other things. And I'm like, no, I don't make any money unless you buy something from me.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to touch that because I think that is a mouthful that I hope ears are hearing that. Yeah.
No, I just, you talk about, community service. So yes, it really is pouring back into the community. And, you should know that group owners don't make any money unless you buy from them.
It's philanthropy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a
without the, what do you get? The receipt to claim it on taxes. Because we are talking about money, so we may as well get back to that. Karine, what about you? What would you share? Because it's all about wealth for me and connectivity. So the body is about wealth.
So I'll be, as I often like to do, I'll choose to be different. And I will say my mouth. I have a gift to gab, but I also, I smile a lot because I have a lot of positivity inside me. So yeah, I think people, when they see me, they will notice. And also I have been told since I was a child that I have a rather large mouth, like physically large. So, but also it's the journalist in me. I love talking to people. I love asking questions. And so everything comes right from here. Also my love, always.
Wow. I've never heard somebody answer that. That's quite original. You're right. Thanks. And you do have that kind of smile for sure.
Thank you.
And that's what's contagious, laughter and smiles, right? Wow. Karen?
I would have to say my eyes, to be able to see things and look at things in different ways and see things for how they are. And I think that's something I'm very grateful for.
So as a woman at 64, when I lost my mother in my late, when I was 60, that journey led me to a lot of grief that I didn't realize. And I experienced an emotional breakdown. And I say that's why Sage actually focuses on what is emotional wealth and how do we have it and how do we share it. So that being said, Karen, I remember your eyes seeing beyond, oh, I might cry, beyond what was happening, because we met in 17. So that was the beginning of my mom's journey. And I was not in a great place. I didn't have wealth of emotion. I didn't have wealth. And when I was with you, I remember the times you need people that can see beyond what they're looking at. So I love that. And today, what I'm excited to say is we're all here to share with you. Yes, it's been rich thinking to grow, because it all starts in an idea. And we're basing it on every Friday, we're going to come in here and we're going to talk about Napoleon Hill's success. Oh, I didn't prepare Haley. I always pick up my book. This is the first, now Karen and Karine, and they're all different, but they all have the same message. So it's interesting. Haley, I'm gifting you a book.
You're not holding up the one that's in a million pieces.
Oh, you want to see that one? Yeah.
Oh, we do. We want to see the one that's in 3 million pieces.
You think
That's
your
been loved to
community
death.
will like this? Just in case, I'm all about authenticity. And in the community of 76,000 people, if I had one thing to share and I had 5 seconds, I would be authentic. And you know what? I live this stuff, and let me prove it. Da-da-da. It's a 1960s version. And I want you to know the first time that I picked up this book, I was like, you imagine I'm in my 20s, I'm in commercial real estate, and I have to do this. And I'm on commission, so I'm not getting paid to do it. So all of you people that are working and not getting paid and frustrated, so I'm frustrated. And the print, I want you to see how small the print is. Like, imagine having to read this. And I'm blind in one eye. I mean, this is wear and tear on my eyes. So I'm reading this and I'm like, I am fighting it, eh? I don't want to read it. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm coming in to do this book club at 7:30 in the morning. I don't have to share with you how much negativity there was until I basically was told, and next week we're going to go into deeper details on this. Just pick a number of how much money you want in 6 months from now. Pick a number. You can imagine I'm a bit of a brat, right? Pick a number. Okay, $50,000. 6 months later, I had $50,000 in my bank account. So we are not wasting your time. That's what I want to share with you. Thank you, Haley, for reminding me of my, like that Big Yellow Taxi song, small little book sitting on my bookshelf. That's what I would say. And on that note, let's get to what is Think and Grow Rich and Napoleon Hill. I thought everybody knew it. Like, Karine, share that. Like, I can't believe it. I thought everybody, what do you mean you don't know Napoleon Hill?
Nope. I did not know Napoleon Hill until January of 2022. See, this is where Katherine and I were partners, and we complement each other very well because she is a wealth of knowledge and I am able to edit it and articulate it to our community. But I just didn't grow up with this type of environment. I grew up with a single mom and 2 sisters, and we had a slightly different upbringing. And Katherine and I can, and Karen probably, and Haley could wax lyrical about our upbringings. But I understood if you have the ability to choose to be happy, choose happy. So positive attitude. I didn't know about universal laws. I didn't know about Napoleon Hill. I didn't know any of these things until I read The Secret. That was sort of my first introduction to it. But again, I was in my 30s and my sisters and I gave it to each other, for holidays, Christmas. Anyways, back to Napoleon Hill. January 2022, Katherine introduced me to this. I'm going to be perfectly honest with everybody here. I haven't finished this book. I got it in January 2022. I have sticky notes. I have notes to myself all throughout it, but I genuinely have not finished it, and I am learning as I go. But I will get back to my story in a second after Katherine, you take over again. I didn't know about Napoleon Hill, and after I realized what Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich was all about, I realized that I was doing it in my 20s when I started my career path. I just didn't know it was actually a thing. So I'll go back to you, Katherine.
And you know what? I'm glad you said that, because that's what life by design is. It's not by accident. It's not, and that's what I feel like. If we could share this and people walk away, don't try to digest it all. Don't. Take one thing that applies and works for you. Haley, what about you? You knew Napoleon Hill.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself because I have dogs playing in the background.
Oh, we like that. It's play date day.
Yeah, no, and I mean, for me, I started learning about Napoleon Hill. Gosh, it's probably been 6 or 7 years, and starting to like work my way through stuff. But there is so much information. It's not just like a sit down and like a light Sunday afternoon read.
No, you're right.
And it's just, to me, it's interesting to see how impactful it is. And I just had like a massive revelation, like in the last few weeks. You talk about how, enthusiasm, going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm is success. And, and then, you talk about a lot of the, stopping 3 feet from gold and a lot of these kinds of lessons. And you realize, it's because other people before us have gone through this process of, trying to achieve something, trying to do something. And it's not a straight line, and it goes sideways regularly. And frequently, a lot of the people around us think we're crazy.
Oh,
yeah, but you know what I love was learning that the majority, if not all, of highly successful people have applied the principles from this book. That was the first eye-opener for me. I thought, well, if these people who are really successful know this book and have used this book, that's a hint that maybe I should embrace it. And then the other thing that I learned, and you just touched on it too, is the only people who don't reach their goals are the ones who quit.
That was one of my questions on my test while I'm getting certified. But Karen, I'll take this opportunity to thank you, because I read this book alone. And I remember in the beginning, 3 years ago, when I said, you know what, Wednesday night, I'm going to open this up because I'm reading anyway and see what happens. And some days, well, I remember I was alone. And then all of a sudden, Karen came, and then Karen came. And you've been there for 3 years, and not like very rarely missed.
Very rarely missed. I love it. It feeds my soul. It helps me to grow and stay on track and stay positive. And it's really great. And I miss it when I'm not there. The only
so what is the there? Because we haven't announced that here, what that is. Because I know
there is our book club on Wednesday nights. So we do a book club every Wednesday at 7 for about an hour. And it's really a lot of fun, and it's very enriching. And right now we have an amazing group of people, super positive. And yeah, I look forward to it.
So on that note,
sorry, I just want to jump in and say what I love about book club is it's different. I've been part of book clubs where, it's required to read a book. You get together, you have some wine and cheese. You usually talk about everything else other than the book, and then you move on to the next book. That's sort of been a book club in my experience, but that is not even remotely similar to what you guys do on Wednesday nights. Not only do you read the book aloud and take turns reading aloud, you spend time diving deeply into the part that you've read. How do you apply it to your life? How is it valuable? What can you do to embrace it wholeheartedly? What are the key points? Like it's like I will use a phrase we use a lot right now. It's feeding your mind, literally feeding your mind with nutrients and value to take into your everyday.
So we'll jump on with what we're going to talk about today. And what is it, like, not from our opinion, from the book. So right out of the book, 13 principles of money making, because we're all entrepreneurs in here. More than that, we're business people doing business. So money making essential to every person who accumulates money to guarantee financial independence. It's all about business. Okay. Wealth is in all areas, but for purposes of today, what we want to really focus in on 13 principles, 13 steps towards riches. Each chapter says first step towards riches, and they are not always measured in money. But if you are in business, it's all about money. So many people are in business and they forget the money. They forget that business is about the money that comes in and the money that goes out. And I remember my cash flow story where the bank asked me, well, what are your assets? And I was an entrepreneur and I had assets, but I didn't know what the heck an asset was. Money in, money out, cash flow. Cash flow is king. If you want to know more about how to make more money and save money, get a handle on your cash flow, reach out to us. Reach out to Haley. Reach out to Karen. Reach out to Karine. Reach out to me. We'll be glad to lead you in some direction. Haley, you want to add to that cash flow point? Because this is your community. You built like 76,000 people that are here trying to do business.
Yeah, I mean, the cash flow thing is real. I mean, you study it in business school, and then the reality of it, right? And then the other fun thing I see is a lot of money mindset coaches, and it's kind of, there's some really interesting dynamics that happen around money in general, right? Like making money, charging what you're worth. But I see a lot of people sometimes who are like, charge what you're worth. And then I'm like, well, you're charging more than the market will bear for that particular service. So there's a lot of things around money and cash flow that, I mean, we could probably talk for days.
Yeah, we'll come back to that at one point. And Karen comes from the banking world. She could probably talk it like this as well, because the businesses that are failing, and while they're failing, is they don't have a handle on it. But the next
and they don't know where the money's coming and going and how it's running through the business, or they may know and people may just not be paying.
So on that, that'll be a good challenge one day, Haley. Napoleon Hill commissioned Andrew Carnegie, who's a steel magnate, over a 25-year period. So all of you sitting in here, have you been doing something to make it work for 25 years? Because I haven't. I can tell you that. I've been very successful in business. We've all been very successful. 25 years. And what did he do? He interviewed more than 500 financially successful men, businessmen with entrepreneurial spirits. Not too different from a community here, that we are entrepreneurial spirits doing business, just like these members. And these steps, what did they have in common? Like, these weren't just 13 steps from one person said this, one person said that. These are the 13 steps, and really there's 17, but we won't go there. That's another book. There's 13 steps in Think and Grow Rich. And Napoleon Hill took these 13, and these are the 13 that every one of them had in common. Meaning Thomas Edison didn't just have the first step. He had all 13. And Henry Ford had all 13. And Theodore Roosevelt had all 13. And 500 more. So I remember when I went down to Napoleon Hill Foundation very recently, I didn't realize that when I say this, I want to hear whether you would believe this is possible. Napoleon Hill influenced Gandhi. Gandhi spread the word of Napoleon Hill's 17 principles of success throughout India. And look what he did. So he did something that wasn't money.
Can we just mention, so if anybody in the community isn't aware, this book was written in 1937. So when we're talking about how he influenced and all this, and you see the names, these are not names of recent people that are in business, but everybody knows these names. That's number one. And the second thing is, when we're talking about he interviewed 500 successful men and businessmen. The reason it was mostly men was because in those days was mostly men who were the ones who were the entrepreneurs and who were in business and who were working. So just to put a little sidebar onto Katherine's speech and discussion, that nobody is thinking that we're just geared towards men. It's geared towards business people, but because of the era that the book was written in, that's speaks to that.
And on that note, this is the one that I was able to get because I only picked it up last year. But it has modern day stories. So this one is copyrighted 2003. So it actually has stories that are a little bit more recent success stories. So just as an FYI, it's kind of it updates a little bit.
And so, Napoleon claimed that his formula will work for all who are ready for it. So the question isn't, will this work? The question is, are you going to take the actions needed to make it work? And on that, he shared all achievement, all earned riches have their beginning. And where do they have their beginning? In an idea, in a thought, a vision, a mission. So in business, do you have a vision? Do you have a mission? Do you know what you want? Because so often we think we know what we want, but it's the backup plan. You're not looking for the backup plan in business. And Haley, when you do websites with people and they come out, or you do social media and you get that out there for them. I'm thinking about that. And I'm thinking, well, I think I want to do this and I want to do that. Come back here. What's that idea? What's that thought? And I love that about you, because you do bring it back to that always. You always go, wait a minute here. There's 3 thoughts in there. And Karine will attest to dealing with me. I could put in 100 thoughts into something. And getting that focus when you're doing your social media is not an easy task. So you need to make sure you work on that. And we'll get back to that another time. And I have more here. You don't need to know how you're going to get something done. For some reason, we focus always on the how. How am I going to do that? In a video, Bob Proctor was talking to somebody, and somebody said, oh, I have an idea to do this, but I don't have the money. How am I going to get the money? And he was, it was amazing how he answered him with the simplest terms. You're going to find it, where the money is already. And he answers it so simply. And Haley, how often do you say, simple? Make it simple. Make it simple. I hear it all the time. So, you know what? Karine, you've done a wonderful job sharing over the while on the Thomas Edison and Barnes story, because that's a true example.
Well, it's because I can relate to it, and also it's at the beginning of the book. So I have read it compared to the rest of the book that I have not yet read. But yeah, so they start out with Edward C. Burns' story about, and I love this. He basically said that it says he heard himself, he had a consuming obsession of his life, a burning desire to work with Thomas Edison. And it says Barnes' desire was not a hope, it was not a wish, it was a keen, pulsating desire which transcended everything else, meaning it was definite, it was clear, he wanted to work with Thomas Edison. He didn't say that he wanted to be Thomas Edison's executive assistant. He didn't say he wanted to be one of Thomas Edison's scientists. He just knew that he wanted to work with Thomas Edison. So the reason why this really speaks to me is because, just as you were saying, Katherine, he didn't know how it was going to happen. He just knew that that's what he wanted. And so he didn't get distracted. He didn't, he literally just knew that's what he wanted. And this goes back to what I was alluding to when I spoke at the beginning of this half hour, which was in my 20s, after I had graduated with BA, when I still had no idea what I wanted to do as far as a career goes, I realized that I had plastered my bedroom with fashion magazine tears. So, when you tear out pages from a magazine and that was my wallpaper. And I was sitting with my mom, literally kind of trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And she said, you love fashion magazines. You have fashion magazines on your bedside table. You take them everywhere you go. And then I realized, I want to work at a fashion magazine. Had no connections, no experience, no idea how I was going to make that happen. But that was the burning desire that I had. And frankly, it was the only burning desire I had. I couldn't think of anything else that I would rather do. And the long story short is I ultimately had an amazing career in fashion magazines that translated over into women's lifestyle publications. When I was at the editor-in-chief of Chatelaine magazine, I hit the top of my career. And it was, you know, my crowning moment. I realized I had succeeded with my burning desire. So I can really relate to this Barnes guy and what he wanted to do with Thomas Edison.
Yeah, it's a really, and I want to jump to that because opportunities come, and I want to really go over to Haley on this one, because when you started, you weren't the editor. And when Barnes started, he took a job. He didn't go, you know, he jumped on an opportunity. So opportunity.
I need to just jump in there, and as a comparison, I begged my way into the master's program at what was then called Ryerson University, now it's TMU, to get into the journalism program, because it was the only thing I could think of that could actually get me one step closer to this world that I aspired to be a part of. Then I borrowed $2,000 to sleep on somebody's couch for 2 months so that I could volunteer unpaid internships that are no longer allowed. And again, like you said, like I just constantly took one step that I could think of that came my way. And I thought, yep, that gets me a step closer. I'll do that. It was okay. Back to you. Sorry.
No, it's great. Thank you. This is an example of everybody in the community, and really want to go to the fact of the opportunities that are sitting in their disguise. Okay. So all of a sudden you're doing a launch and you're not doing so well, you know, and you feel defeated. And where you go wrong is, or somebody's out there doing exactly what you do, and they look better than you when they're doing it because they're 20 and they're cute and they're beautiful and their smile is great. And like, why are they going to buy from me at 64? You know, when they can buy from her, I'd buy from her. Like, you know, like she sounds like she knows what she's talking about. Oh my God, she's never done it live. That's what happens to me. Oh my, can I just take her face, give her the words so she understands it a little better? Because she really is getting momentum. So all of a sudden, what happens? You end up messing up your mind. You end up making yourself small. That's not my problem, but it could be. And it is for some people in our community. And the opportunity now, like when I look, like how many people, Haley, and I'd really want to speak to that, because within your community, I'd say the biggest thing is that I'm hearing is people are struggling to have clients and then to have paying clients to get that. And, you know, here's an opportunity. Haley's about to launch a 10K in 10-day challenge. I really want you to share that. And why do I want to share it? Because here's an example of an opportunity that's absolutely free. Free. And here's the thing, it's a time investment. And here's the thing, you definitely won't succeed if you don't want to put your time and take action into things. So Haley, can you share a little bit about that opportunity that you have to offer within these people? Because even if you're not marketing, right?
Yeah, no, you know, this was kind of a fun challenge that we did earlier this year. And so we're doing it again. And a lot of people think that it's maybe hard or impossible to make $10,000 in 10 days. And what we saw was that actually a lot of people made quite a bit of money. Some made way more than $10,000. Some set foundations in place. Some people made less, but almost everybody made more money than they would have made otherwise. And
great.
What we're doing is coaching, setting a plan, doing accountability, doing networking, giving you all the tools and resources that you need to get from point A to point B. And Katherine does the mindset piece. I'm just here to do the hardcore tech and execution piece. That's what we're here for.
Well, you do a lot, and I'm glad you brought up, because at Sage Navigation, we do look at what your vision is. And before we go there, and I would love to go there, but what I want to say is that there's another component, and you know, you alluded to it. So now all of a sudden, you know exactly what you want. Go to Sage Navigation, we'll help you with that. Now all of a sudden, I need clients to pay. Go to Haley Gray, she's going to do it. You're dealing with experts here. Now, here's the next thing. And Karen's going to share about this because you brought up 3 feet from gold. Karen, maybe you want to share that story so people can relate to what that looks like in real life because they're sitting with that right now.
Yeah. So 3 feet from gold is really a story about not giving up. And opportunities do come disguised in the form of misfortune or temporary defeat. And that's where a lot of people quit. So what we want to do is show you that it's not time to quit when you have a little bit of a temporary defeat. It's the story of R.U. Darby and his uncle who owned a gold mine. And he sold his gold mine when he was actually 3 feet from gold unknowingly. He sold it because he wasn't hitting the gold. So after discovering a little bit of gold and hitting a small vein, they invested a lot of money, bought heavy machinery, and then they didn't find what they expected. So they sold it off to a junk guy. And he bought it, and he hired an expert, a mining engineer. And the mining engineer took a look at the mine and did some calculations, and he discovered that there was a vein about 3 feet away from where they had stopped digging. So they dug and they found a lot. And so the takeaway, of course, for Darby was that he said, I'm never taking no for an answer. He actually went on to sell insurance. But that was where he learned his stickability of not sticking with it, not giving up, and not taking the first no as a hard no. So
I'm glad you shared that. And when I go to, it's very interesting because I think, Haley, you see that a lot in entrepreneurs when they're getting out there on social media and they're putting their marketing out there. There's a lot of people out there claiming to be an expert. And I'm an expert in real estate. I'm truly an expert. 35 years. Like I haven't been stumped because if you ask me a question, I either have the answer or I'm picking up the phone to somebody that has the answer. But I assure you, you're going to have the answer because I can recognize the experts that you need. So I'm a leasing expert. I can't sell a house like if my life depended on it. But you know what? Because I understand real estate and I'm an expert in real estate, I've met and recognized experts. So it's your job. It's not going to be Haley's job. It's not going to be my job. It's not going to be Karine's or Karen's to say, I can help you with cash flow and I can help you with your vision and I can package you or I can whatever. It's up to you to say, can they help me? One, are they an expert? What makes them an expert? Haley's got a book on this. She's an expert. I wish I found that book the day I started. I might not have wasted $40,000. But I can tell you right now, $40,000 with no sales, let me tell you. That's the other part. But the thing is when you have an expert on your team and you have them with integrity, then you have the part of connectivity, connecting. And you know, Haley, I don't know what you want to add to marketing because you're very humble, but in your community, you have so many people that are offering services, but there's a difference between having a boutique down the street, and even Karine will speak to that even. You have a store or a restaurant, or you're trying to go online selling. Come on. Different experts.
Well, yes and no. I would say a lot of the expertise is the same. Going on the, process for the, like marketing. There's a lot of people out there that are out there to sell you whatever they have. And I think that that's true in your brick and mortar stores and your not brick and mortar stores. And, I have a widget or I have a hammer, therefore everything looks like a nail. So I'm going to sell all my hammers and nails. And it might not be appropriate for your particular business for the way that you have things set up, whether it's an online store or an offline store. I mean, foundational stuff is foundational stuff, but it's just knowing when to leverage which tools. Are you using dynamite here or a hammer and pick, or what are you going to do? And how are you going digging for that gold?
And you know what? I want to say thank you for sharing those stories. And even like many people know the 3 feet from gold, but they don't realize that somebody gave up before they had to. Somebody else that had nothing went out and said, let me tweak that. And next thing you know, it's there. Not too different from us as entrepreneurs doing that. Let me be clear on what I'm doing. And then let's message it out there properly, and let's get it on the right channels. Like, but you know something? I'm going to say, if you sign up, there's 2 things. One, next week, and you know, we look outside for answers, eh? Karine, maybe you could, like, when we look outside for answers, the answers of what we want to do is not outside. It's in us. It's in us.
It's in us. Sometimes it needs a little nudge, I'll be honest. And I think, you know, you and I met just over a year and a half ago, and I've always been very interested in women's health, I'll be honest with you. And I think I started my journey with a sort of more of the physical wellness. It's based on a lot on my mother not being well for the majority of her life. But also, I have 4 kids. And when I got pregnant for the first time, I truly understood the connection between what you put into your body and what that does. Everybody who has had a child knows how important it is to eat well, how to feed your body nutritionally, especially when you're pregnant. But it was really only once I met Katherine that I fully understood that you need to feed your mind. You need to surround yourself and ingest, literally, back to Karen and what she sees through her eyes. You know, you need to ingest nutrients for your mind, not just physical nutrients, which I can get on a thing about my vitamin D and all of the things that I enjoy to feed my mind physically, but to feed your mind mentally. This is so important. And this is what Katherine has created, this workshop that we're doing on Monday at noon, that we would love for you to join, anybody to join us. We have a link, I think, in the comments there. But this is the idea. Katherine has created this workshop. It's 1 hour. It's free, to get people thinking about what you're feeding your mind. And also, it's obviously, it also creates a sense of community, because we have a lot of people that we all, you know, are seeing and thinking about similar topics, but not necessarily seeing things exactly the same way. So we actually are constantly learning and constantly sharing.
Yeah, thank you. So I guess we're going to wrap up, and we'll be back next week to talk about the actual chapter on desire. But before we do that, Karen, do you have anything to add? Because I know you work with this stuff all the time.
Well, we have, we have a ton of examples. We have so many different things that we can talk about. I don't have anything specifically to add. I think that we did cover a lot of things, and I'm really excited to continue these discussions, because there's so many valuable things in here that people could really, really use in their life, and that will really be helpful.
So now I'm going to send it over to Haley, but next week at 10 a.m. will be the 30 minutes sharp, because this is our first one together. But next week will be 30 minutes sharp. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about desire, knowing what you want and getting what you want. The formula, the secret that Napoleon Hill shared in Think and Grow Rich. And Haley really, I think it's just amazing. We've put the link in the chat so you can join the free webinar, and it all starts in the idea in the mind. And with Henley, this is the part I'll share, because we're business. When riches begin, if you're sitting there saying, is this going to work? Get prepared, because you're going to get that idea. That's what you're going to do. And then you're going to attend the 10K challenge. And I'm going to tell you what Napoleon Hill says. When riches begin to come, they come so quickly, in such great abundance, that one wonders where they've been hiding during all these lean years. Riches begin with a state of mind. Success comes to those that are success conscious. So Haley, Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Haley.
Thank you for being here today. This is fun.
It is fun.
So
Awesome.
we'll see some of you Monday.
I'll be
see
there.
you later.
And then the 10K challenge. You know what? If you're saying, I don't have my business set up yet, I'm not ready, I better not take messy action. I better not take the 10K challenge. I took the 10K challenge. And I'm going to stand up here and say, I didn't make a penny from it. But it wasn't because of the 10K challenge. Because I realized that very second, I got on the phone with Karine. I got on the phone with Karen. I said, whoa, wait a minute. We got to stop everything. We got to stop the press. Stop the press. There's a better way to do it. We're not going to make the same impact. We got to break this up. We got to make a difference. And that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't completely immersed in looking at what happened. Thank you.
Sometimes you got to look at it with new eyes. Have a good day, y'all. Take care. Thank you. And we will chat soon. And my whole office is just turned to dogs.